Level 1. You stand at the threshold of the Great Descent, where the air tastes like ionized copper and wet concrete. The siren above isn't a sound anymore. It is a physical vibration rattling your molars. You hold the clipboard like a shield, watching the frantic tide of people clutching suitcases filled with useless paper money. Your job is simple: filter the gold from the silt. You smell the ozone from the first distant impacts and the sour sweat of 1,000 terrified bodies pressing against the steel perimeter. 22,000 liters of pressurized air hiss through the intake valves every minute, a mechanical heartbeat that promises a tomorrow they don't deserve yet. You don't look at their eyes, you look at their hands, checking for calluses, wedding rings of high-carat gold, or the steady grip of someone who can maintain a ventilation shaft. Next, you bark, your voice cutting through the whimpers of a woman offering a diamond necklace for a bunk in Section C. You calculate the caloric density of the crowd, knowing that every body admitted is a furnace that consumes 60 watts of heat and 3 liters of oxygen. The concrete floor is 42 centimeters thick, and beneath it, the abyss waits for the unlucky. Level 2. The heavy lead-lined doors groan shut with the finality of a tombstone, sealing out the scream of the atmosphere as it begins to boil. You move into the decontamination foyer, where the scent of harsh bleach and industrial-strength Lysol stings your nostrils. This is where the hierarchy begins to crystallize. You watch the standard tier occupants, those who barely scrape the entry fee, as they are hosed down with cold, chemically treated water. They shiver in groups of 10, their skin turning a dull, irritated pink under the ultraviolet sterilizers. You walk past them, the click of your boots echoing against the reinforced polymer walls. You are checking the pressure gauges, 760 millimeters of mercury, holding steady. In your pocket, you fiddle with a heavy brass key, the symbol of your leverage. You aren't just selling space, you are selling the illusion of dignity. You pull a man aside, a surgeon by the look of his hands, and whisper that his family can have an extra blanket if he agrees to the midnight shift in the infirmary. The hum of the massive diesel generators in the sub-basement provides a low-frequency growl, a reminder that life here is a machine-driven miracle. Level 3. The corridors narrow as you descend into the residential hive, where the air grows thick with the smell of recycled breath and dehydrated soup. This is Level 3, the domain of the middle-tier contractors. Here, the walls are painted a clinical, nauseating shade of pale green intended to suppress aggression, but you see the cracks forming in their psyche. You walk through the communal mess hall, noting the exact weight of the synthetic protein slabs being served, 450 grams per person, not a milligram more. The sound here is a constant, maddening drone. The ventilation fans, the distant clatter of plastic trays, and the hushed, paranoid whispers of people realizing they are trapped with strangers for the next decade. You stop by a bunk, noticing a hidden stash of chocolate, a forbidden luxury. Instead of confiscating it, you lean in close, smelling the faint, sweet cocoa, and tell the owner that silence has a price. You trade a slightly better air filter for a promise of future labor. Everything is a transaction. The temperature is exactly 22 degrees Celsius, but the atmosphere feels like a fever. Level 4. You reach the hydroponic tiers, and the sensory palette shifts violently. The scent of damp earth and synthetic fertilizers hits you like a physical blow, a haunting mockery of the world that just died. Rows of glowing purple LED strips cast an eerie, neon light over the shivering leaves of genetically modified kale and soy. Here, the sound is the constant drip irrigation system, a rhythmic tock, tock, tock that counts down the second to their new life. You are the one who decides who gets the garden detail, the most coveted job in the whole, because it feels almost like sunlight. You watch a former CO kneeling in the dirt, his manicured nails caked with peat moss, desperately trying to keep a tray of seedlings alive. You check the pH levels of the water, 6.5, optimal for growth, and adjust the nutrient flow with a flick of a switch. You remind them that if the plants die, the oxygen levels drop by 0.5% within 48 hours. You sell hope in the form of a germinating seed, charging a premium in labor credits for the privilege of touching something green while the surface turns to ash. Level 5. The atmosphere turns cold and metallic as you enter the technical arteries. This is where the true power resides, hidden behind layers of armored plating and high-voltage warnings. The smell here is sharp: burnt oil, hot copper wiring, and the biting tang of battery acid. You walk along the catwalks, looking down at the massive cooling vats of the modular nuclear reactor. The blue Cherenkov radiation glows with a haunting, ethereal beauty, illuminating the dark corners of the pit. You are meeting with the engineers, the high priests of the steel temple. They don't want money or gold. They want more time in the sensory deprivation tanks to escape the claustrophobia. You negotiate the distribution of power, diverting 15% of the auxiliary grid from the residential blocks to the data servers where the digital archive of human history is stored. The sound is a high-pitched whine of turbines spinning at 12,000 revolutions per minute. You feel the heat radiating from the machinery, a dry, scorching warmth that contrasts with the damp chill of the living quarters. You are the architect of the trade, balancing the needs of the machine against the survival of the species. Level 6. Deep in the shadows of the secure archives, the world feels muffled and ancient. This level is reserved for the elite placements, the people who paid in untraceable assets and ancient secrets. The smell is of old paper, leather-bound books, and the sterile dryness of nitrogen-purged storage vaults. Here, the walls are lined with the remnants of a civilization that no longer exists. Paintings, sculptures, and hard drives containing the sum of human knowledge. You walk softly, your footsteps dampened by thick acoustic foam flooring. There is no communal dining here. Meals are delivered through pneumatic tubes, the soft thump of the canisters being the only sign of life. You meet with a silent benefactor, a man who owns the rights to the very air filtration patents keeping the bunker alive. The negotiation is wordless, a nod, a transfer of access codes, a subtle shift in the hierarchy of the deep. The temperature is kept at exactly 16 degrees Celsius to preserve the artifacts, making your breath mist in the air. You are the curator of a museum at the end of time, selling the right to be remembered to those who have lost everything but their pride. Level 7. You descend into the solitude chambers, the most expensive and terrifying level of the complex. This is where the isolationists reside, those who paid to never see another human face again. The silence here is absolute, a heavy velvet weight that presses against the eardrums. The only smell is the sterile, odorless scent of pure, medical-grade oxygen. Each room is a self-contained ecosystem, a luxurious coffin made of brushed steel and silk. You monitor the vitals on a glowing console, heart rates, REM cycles, and serotonin levels. You are the unseen god of this level, adjusting the light cycles to mimic a Mediterranean sunset or a Nordic dawn. You sell the ultimate luxury, the lie that the world hasn't changed. One occupant pays you in encrypted keys for a private satellite uplink that probably connects to nothing but static. You take the keys anyway. The digit counters on the wall show the outside radiation levels in staggering numbers, 300 sieverts per hour, but down here, behind 400 meters of granite, the sensors read 0. You feel the immense pressure of the earth above you, a trillion tons of rock holding the silence in place. Level 8. The final level is the command core, the center of the web where you finally stand alone. The air is perfectly balanced, crisp and thin like a mountain peak. There are no smells here, only the clinical absence of scent. The only sound is the soft, rhythmic clicking of the master computer's cooling fans and the faint, ghostly static from the long-range radio arrays. You look at the monitors, hundreds of camera feeds showing the tiers above you, a vertical ant colony of desperation, toil, and fragile hope. You see the numbers, 912 survivors, 3 million liters of water remaining, and 12 years until the surface becomes habitable for more than 10 minutes. You reach for the final ledger, a heavy book where you record the true cost of every bunk. You are the merchant of the end, the one who quantified the value of a human soul in liters of oxygen and grams of protein. You adjust your collar, feeling the cold weight of the master override key against your chest. The journey is over, the gates are locked, and the transaction is complete. You sit in the high-back chair, watching the world die on a 4K resolution screen, and wait for the first payment of the new era to begin.